Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are looking at player props here for Wednesday night in these NBA playoffs. A couple game fives to choose from. Got the Dubs and the Grizz. Also got that Bucks and Celtics series. Bunch of players to like, pretty much all over the board here. So we'll jump into that. Make sure you head to playpicks.com. Nate does have his great articles up on there with some best bets and player props in there for you. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. We are bringing you each and every playoff video, as well a playoff game video, as well as these player props. And also want you to head to thelines.com. Make sure you're using that player props tool to shop all of those to get the best odds out there on those NBA player props. And also head to play.thelines.com if you want to win a $25 Amazon gift card. Head to the NBA Daily Pick'em Challenge. Get all of those correct, and we will send you that gift card. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for player props tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, it's a great slate. Before we get into it, got to mention to everybody that Josh is going to be off for a couple weeks. He's getting married on Saturday. Mazel tov. So I will bring you a few solo videos to close out this week. Then we're taking a week off, and we will be back strong for the conference finals and finals. Please do, continue to look for those videos. We will be back. But one more big props video together here. And it starts with Giannis. I mean, why would it not? We like to diversify here on the show, but this is just an obvious pick. And I still don't understand how it's almost even money for him to just be the leading scorer in this game. The Celtics maybe will get a 30-point scorer again, maybe not. They could still win the game without a 30-point scorer, but Giannis is almost a lock to get 30. His prop is 31.5 points. I don't hate that. But I think we'll see a little bit more playmaking from him. I think the Bucks really have to emphasize ball movement rather than just leaning completely on Giannis. Not to say his 43% usage rate is going to dip that much. He does what he does, and especially in the playoffs after a loss, he is huge. Josh called that effectively after they lost game 2. He came back with 42, 12, and 8 on 16 for 30 field goal shooting. I think we'll see a pretty massive performance here in the Garden from Giannis. The 38.5 assists is where you get it when you combine 7 assists. If you just go up to 8 assists at FanDuel, you're into plus money at plus 128. I don't have a problem with that. Really, I mean, the best bet is just for him to lead this game in scoring, though. Like I said, Celtics are going to spread it out. Tatum is probably not going to outscore Giannis, and yeah, I mean, can we just get him attacking? The Bucks have to be thinking, like, why is he taking 4.7 attempts from 3 and hitting 0.7 of them? I mean, he's pretty money on the mid-range now. He's gotten that into his game, which is enough to respect the defense if they have to get you at the free throw line. I don't understand why he's taking these above the break threes. They're an absolute gift. If he stops doing that, if he stops kind of like hesitating instead of, and puts the onus on the officials by just going downhill, he's going to keep scoring, going to keep getting to the foul line. And if Rob Williams is out, you got to feel even better about Giannis scoring.
Yeah, especially if Rob Will is out. That definitely had a part to play in his last 2 really explosive performances. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Bill Simmons on his podcast always says, like, if I'm one team and I know, if I know that my opponent really wants me to do what I'm doing, essentially, then why would I keep doing it, right? So in this case, if the Celtics are like, thank God he just shot a 3, I don't need his elbows flying at my face while he's running to the rim full speed anymore, then why would you keep doing it? At the same time, human nature is Giannis also is getting punished by more than one person each time he goes to the rim. Usually there's 3 guys that have at least bumped him or hit him in some way before he gets to the rim from the C's. So I would also imagine that he's happy to 5 times a game be like, all right, cool, a breather. Hopefully this goes in. If not, at least I'm not getting hit anymore in the chest for a bit. So I can understand that. I love the assists as well. The 8 assists at plus money, plus 128. Yeah, I would take that as is. But I do like his points, rebounds, and assists, or combinations thereof, getting over 30 points, 32 points, and then leading the game. I do like all of it, but I do think that this is gonna. I'm a bit nervous about the points. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I started with the assists, just because in my head I'm looking at this going, 2 big games at home. Now he's back on the road where we already know he doesn't play quite as well because he doesn't get to the line as much, which is a huge part of it all. So we'll see how the refs are calling this game. I really don't want to get into them at all and bring them into the conversation, but they do come into play when you're talking about a disparity of 4 to 5 free throw attempts for Giannis on the road versus at home. That's a pretty big deal and impacts his scoring a ton. So also the non-calls that the Celtics players will get as a result, even though, at home he's getting those, et cetera. So yeah, it's all the same conversation, but I do love the assists and I still like him to have a big game. So I'm going to move on to another guy on the other side of the floor here, Papa Al, who's spending a lot of time guarding Giannis. Actually got kind of worked over more than he did in the first 3 in the last game, but that was also because he was exerting all his offense, his energy on offense, where he dropped a 30 piece and definitely had his best playoff game of his career, very long, illustrious career at this point. But 13.5 points for Papa Al after going, back to back 22 and then 30. And it was like, okay, it was at about 11.5. Now we'll raise it 2 points despite what he's doing here. And it's not like it's really a weird fluke. The field goal attempts are there. In part, I'm sort of assessing that Papa Al is looking in, and going, oh, I need to score more. I need to shoot. I need to go ahead and sort of assert my will a bit more, and show these, keep these young bucks, in check with me and show them the energy, right? He's pushing the pace. You can see him actually like initiating the offense rather than sort of just playing passive and looking for passes. He's like playing with some pace here, and it's really nice to see. It's a big reason for it. So my point is, it's not just this weird fluky thing where he got a bunch of shots off and made them. It's what he's doing right now, and the fact that he is getting open now in the playoffs. He's at 16 points a game on almost 10 boards, 56.5% from the field. He loves playing Milwaukee, and he's on the floor for 38 minutes a game in his last 5, dating back to even the last regular season game against them, because he's the guy guarding Giannis, or at least the secondary defender, especially when Robert Williams isn't out there, and he's currently still questionable for this game. So especially with that, he's going to be in there for defense. Last 5 versus Milwaukee, 17 points, 10 boards, 4 assists. He's making better than 3 threes a game in this series at shooting 48%, almost 4 made in this series, almost 4 made all the way back to the regular season. He's got 3 made a game versus this team. So 2.5 made threes is also still plus money over that. So 3 threes for him is still plus money. He's done that in 3 of 4. He's hit at least 4 threes in 3 of these 4 games, except for the one bad game he had in game 2 there. And those minutes aren't dwindling. Like I said, you could also look at, the steals props aren't really high, are ridiculous for him. Minus 200 actually at 0.5 steal. So if he gets 1 steal, it's minus 200, but you bump that up to about 1.5 steals. So he gets 2. And now you're talking about, minus 105 on your money, at least to get back to about even money, which he's done multiple times in this series as well, because he has that 100 defensive rating. Have I given you enough reasons to want to bet on Papa Al?
Yeah, I don't really understand how these props have barely moved. It's like the assumption that, the Bucks are going to adjust their defense because Al Horford got 30. Maybe a little bit, but they still play the same pack-in style. And if you work the ball around enough, you said it. He realizes he has to shoot more because other Celtics are a little more hesitant to pull against that half closeout that Milwaukee offers when you work it around. You got to take a somewhat contested 3, but it's a pretty good look. And he's pretty unbothered by that. He's shooting 53% from 3 here in the playoffs. Some of those are wide open, and it doesn't really matter if it's contested or wide open because he just has that consistent line drive shot. I think you attack the 3-pointers here. I think it was minus 130 for 3 threes in this last game. And I don't understand, after hitting 6 more, they think that now it's plus money. Like, he can't hit 3. He can hit 4, and that's plus 430. It's just worth considering. That's how he's going to be scoring his points. So take those odds for sure. Exactly. On the other side of the ball, definitely, if there's no Rob Williams, I like Brook Lopez again. In the second half last game, 14 points on 5 for 6 field goal shooting, 4 for 4 at the line. Giannis and Drew were very tired, and the Celtics defense was tipped towards them. So that's how Brolo got a lot of his points, just on these quick little passes down low. The Celtics are undersized when they don't have Rob Williams in there, at least from a height perspective. So Brolo was on the offensive glass. Now, Milwaukee averaging 13 rebounds in the series, and Boston giving up 10 per game at home on the season. We know what Milwaukee's doing in the paint. That's how they control things. They need Brolo to guard the paint, and I guess Bobby Portis is on the outs, which I would say is more of a questionable decision by Mike Budenholzer. I think they needed to go kind of smaller and shiftier at times and keep Bobby involved in the game as a good third scoring option when they don't have Middleton. I mean, he's done well against the Celtics. He was doing well. He did great in that first game, the second game, and now his confidence is kind of a little shot. And I mean, I don't think, I mean, his props have disappeared. We talked about taking the unders last game, but now books aren't even sure how to mark him. I don't know if it's a time to double down on his unders, but what I will do is take the Brolo over 11.5 points, even money. I think he'll get at least 12 points here tonight.
Yeah, it seems likely. Yeah, I mean, to your point, Bobby Portis is not being played right now because of his defense, honestly. And to be fair to him, the C's are going small, getting him off the floor. You can't have him and Brook Lopez on the floor at the same time if the only big man out there is Al Horford. And you actually see Al Horford benefiting from Bobby Portis's bad defense, bad closeout defense, and also his his inability to stay in front of guys that are smaller than him. So it also just leads me to continue to like rebounds for Al Horford as well, just to finish that point, just to go back to him. But yeah, Brook Lopez is also getting the minutes now, and he's going to continue to get the minutes. You probably consider that he was still getting worked back, getting his legs under him to a degree, only coming back for the last couple weeks of the season or so. But his defense is the reason that the Bucks have the best defense in the playoffs right now, and really since he came back, have the best defensive rating in the league back to the regular season because of how well he's protecting the rim. And really, it's the combination of he and Giannis. Obviously, now you're talking about like NFL equivalent of like Ed Reed and like, you know what I mean? Like John Lynch playing in the same backfield or what have you, with two hammers and athletes. So I continue to like the Lopez minutes as well. And the fact that you called the Bobby Portis under last game, kudos to you. So now I think you take sort of the same game theory here with Brolo getting some of those points and stats that Bobby Portis was getting. So a guy here who's just going to go ahead and get his stats. I'm now just riding the Steph train, Steph Curry in that dub series. This is our only game from that Memphis dub series because I'm kind of nervous we're going to see a little bit of a weird choppy game once again in Memphis. I think they would love it for it to be 101-98 once again. Would Memphis, that means that the Dubs only scored 101 points and that's how they need to win. But Steph Curry is he's immune to everything I just said. Similar to how Luka Doncic, you could bet Dallas unders all day and you're still going to feel good about Luka getting 28 to 32 points. I feel really good about Steph doing the same here. 28.5 points is his prop, minus 102 on FanDuel. It's actually 27.5 on DraftKings if you're shopping that, but obviously much worse odds there. And then his assists, which are more over on the road. This is what you're calling as well. You brought to my attention, and I agree. 6.5 assists is plus 106 on FanDuel, which, that 7 assists seems like a lot, but I'll just start with the fact that on the road, he is in the playoffs, especially so far, he's averaging more assists, which is also true in the regular season because they are trying to shut him down. At the same time, he also averages more field goal attempts and 3-point attempts. So it's just a lot more Steph. And that's what we're going to see now is this team's offense. It's not going to just be, okay, Steph, go ahead and get it. But it is going to be Steph knowing when it's his time to just take over and go, sorry, y'all, like it's better for me to take a 32-foot shot right now off the dribble than for you guys to do anything else with it. I got this. And no one in Golden State Warriors fandom, in that crowd is going to be upset when Steph takes any shot at any point. So he has that green light. We all know that. There's no Steve Kerr. There's going to be a little bit less of that gamesmanship that you would expect with Mike Brown. I mean, he's still an extension of Kerr, but it's not the same concept, which means once again, Curry, what you saw in this last game was they needed a lift. We talked about it in the game video, a lot of weird things happening beforehand, including Kerr getting COVID for the Dubs. And that was why Steph just went ahead and said, I got this, and scored his 32 in his last, in the first two games. He averaged 25.5 points in those first two games. In the last two, 31. And it's not just because he's back at home that he scored more in those last two. It's also because it's crunch time. But we're getting closer and closer to the finals with every single game. Everybody's tightening up a little bit, especially young Jordan Poole, who there's no way you can expect him to be the best option. At the very least, he's going to have to take that backseat to Steph now that Steph's fully back and healthy, which he was not in this last series, as we saw him coming off the bench against the Nuggets. So I like everything for him tonight. I like everything for him the rest of the way. I'm just going to go ahead and continue to stay consistent with betting Steph assists and points for this one for sure. Now that they're back on the road, you've called out that they're running him off the line. He's only 9 for 33 in his last 3 games with 22 assists in those 3 games. So he's averaging better than 7 assists a game. He's also averaging better than 30 points a game, though, with 23 free throw attempts in his last 2. So this is just a smart player that can get to the rim, even though he's got a slight 6'3" frame. He's always been underrated with his finishing at the rim, where he's been finishing at the rim his whole career at the level of like a center, essentially, with that high percentage. So obviously I can't say enough about him. A 7-2 assist to turnover ratio in those last 2 games as well. So I think you like anything in terms of 7 assists, 29 to 30 points for the dude. Just feel good about Steph.
Yeah, I mean, that is what he's added to his game, right? He doesn't really need to work on his shooting that much. That's pretty much perfected. But what he knows how to do now is make an array of floaters. And he's always been a smart player, always been an underrated passer. So if Memphis is going to chase him off the line and then the Warriors have an advantage in terms of numbers, he's finding those guys. That's why I like assists most. I think it's great that you're getting plus odds for what he's averaging in this series. And with Memphis down Morant, they're going to be overly aggressive like they were last game, especially on Steph, who closed out the game for the Warriors. So they're really forcing him to give it up to get off the 3-point line and find his teammates, which he'll be more than happy to do.
No doubt. Yeah, we'll see. I know you think it's worth a shot, a little touch on the money line there for the Grizz at about plus 150. I don't hate it. If you're going to bet on them, you might as well bet the money line, because even if they have the lead late, keep things close, they could be up by 5 with 2 minutes left, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them lose by 5, right? With the way Steph closed out the last game, especially. So if you're going to bet the Grizz, just bet that money line is how I feel about it. And if otherwise, you feel good about the Dubs to close out this series. So that is all the time we have for you guys. As Nate mentioned, I will be getting married, but we'll be back with him in the next couple of weeks. He's still got a couple solo videos for you, and then we will be back for those conference finals and finals. So until we see you next, happy betting.